I'm Les Moreland. I'm the current commander, AMVETS Post 2006 here in Leesburg, Florida. And we're a proud sponsor of Central Florida Salute on the YouTube channel. I'd like to have you check us out on our Facebook page or whatever. Our address is 500 North Canal Street in Leesburg, Florida. To all you veterans out there, come by and see us. We salute you for your service and thank you very much.
Hello, welcome to Central Florida Salute YouTube. I am here at Post 1992 in beautiful Mount Dora, Florida, and I have the honor of having Bill Montanari, a United States Army Vietnam veteran, on the show, and I want to welcome you to the show, Bill.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Well, you know, we're all about preserving history, and we're glad to have you here. So tell me a little bit about yourself. You're from Rhode Island, even though it says Massachusetts.
That's correct.
Okay.
I keep myself, people look for me, and I just prefer to be anonymous most of the time.
Well, this is going to be a family show now, Bill.
All right. I was raised in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. Pretty much a French-Canadian community. My dad was Italian, my mom was French, and that was considered a mixed marriage back in those days. And grew up pretty much normal, only child. Had a paper route when I was a kid and worked. Even though they say only children are spoiled, I always had a job. And played football, was a class officer, had a pretty good life.
Yeah, I guess so. So you graduated.
I did.
And once you graduated, did you get a nice little letter?
No, I didn't. I went to college. I went to the University of Rhode Island after I graduated.
What were you taking up there?
I graduated a pre-veterinary curriculum. I was in animal science.
Oh. Should you follow that up and down the road? Or?
I attempted to, but it was sort of difficult. There was no vet schools in Rhode Island, and you had to. There was a contractual obligation, like University of Alabama would take 2 students from Rhode Island. It was very competitive. Yeah. And my grades weren't competitive enough to get me into vet school. Had I been smart, which sometimes I think I am and I'm not, I would have established my residency when I got out of the military in a state that did have a veterinary college, and then I could have applied as an in-state student. Yeah. But hindsight is what they say, right? 2020.
Yeah. So you wound up in the Army, but originally you were thinking Marines, right? Isn't that what you told me?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of my friends were Marines. My cousin was a Marine. I wanted to be a Marine, and I quit college, and I was hooked up and raised on John Wayne movies and William Bendix and Stop Communism Here before all of that stuff. And I wanted to go in. I was a sole surviving son. My dad was ill at the time, and I really didn't have to go. And I was in the college. I didn't flunk out, but I wanted to do my patriotic duty. I went to the Marine recruiters and all that. I was all set to go, and my dad was pretty ill and asked me not to go in the Marines, so I upped my draft and went in the Army instead. I was hoping they'd draft me in the Marines, and then I could say, because the Marines were drafting at that time.
Yeah, the Marines did draft. A lot of people don't know that, no. But there wasn't that. Most of them went to the Army.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, you went to the Army, and where did you go to basic?
Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
And how long were you there?
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Yeah.
What kind of were you trained for? Infantry or what?
Well, at Fort Jackson it was just basic, and oddly enough, I had a year of college, and I had mechanical ability, but I also had a fight with my company clerk, and the company clerk said, "You are going in the infantry, and you are going to Vietnam." And oddly enough, when we got our orders, there was a guy that maybe had a 6th grade education. He was somebody that kind of like licked his lips, wasn't very intelligent. I'm not saying that to be demeaning, but he got orders to go to missile repair school in New Mexico. and I got orders to go to Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Did you ever hear of McNamara's morons?
No,
Did you ever hear that term?
I have, yeah, but I didn't really.
Well, that's when they were running out of people in the draft.
Yeah.
And McNamara lowered the standards so much.
Yeah.
They called them, and it's really not a polite thing to say.
No. But I came up with the theory because I knew several people that didn't seem to have. They weren't that sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And when you joined the Army, the designation was RA, Regular Army, when you joined on your serial number. And if you were drafted, you were U.S. But if you were U.S., like mine was U.S. 5-2, and there were people U.S. 5-4, but if you were U.S. 6-7, the guys that I knew were somewhat challenged. And I did some research on that because it was a theory that I had, and it's true. You can look that up and find people with the designation of U.S. 6-7. Maybe they were what you say.
Well, that was I should not really have said that, but that's what they called them, And I talked to other people who were in the service, and they wind up with this person in their outfit, and they're wondering how they got there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's because McNamara, the war was going on, and we were trying to draft as many as we could.
Yeah.
He lowered the standards, and that's when they named them.
Well, we just called them U.S. 6-7s, and a lot of people didn't like that. You know what I mean? Like, you're a U.S. 6-7. But I mean, I mean, we busted each other quite a bit.
Yeah.
No harm.
No, it's no harm, man. But anyway, so you went to
Fort Jackson, and then I went to Fort Polk, Louisiana. Then when you get to Fort Polk, you got the big sign that says, "Welcome to Tigerland, home of the combat infantryman bound for Vietnam." So you kind of know where you're going at that point.
Does it say bound for Vietnam?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from there, you went right to Vietnam, or did you go anyplace else?
I had a 30-day leave, and that was it.
Okay. What did you? Where were you in Vietnam? What did you do there?
Well, I came into Long Binh, came in Saigon, whatever, Tan Son Nhut, and then I got assigned to the 25th Infantry Division. And
you called them the Golden Dragons? Is that what it was?
No, 25th is Tropic Lightning.
Oh.
But part of the 25th, I was with the 2nd Battalion, 14th Infantry Brigade, which is the Golden Dragons. And I was in Delta Company, 3rd Platoon.
Mm-hmm. So what did you do over there?
Well, my MOS was 11 Bravo, which is infantrymen, and I started out as a rifleman in a line company, and eventually inherited the M60 machine gun, which I carried most of the time while I was there.
So you go out on patrol, or? Yeah,
that's what we did. We'd do hellborn assaults, and I know people. I have friends that have killed themselves, living with some of the witnesses, the atrocities that they've witnessed or committed or whatever. And I mean,
yeah, unfortunately, we all do.
Yeah, and personally, I did what I thought was what I needed to do to survive and come back, and I don't have any real regrets.
You did what your country asked you to do.
Yeah.
So you were in Vietnam, you got the M16 and you were out on patrol most of the time, right?
Yeah, M60. I started out with an M16 as a rifleman, but then I took over the M60 machine gun.
Oh, okay.
So I was a machine gunner in my squad.
Okay, well I knew the M16, but I didn't know the other one.
Yeah.
But then again, I was in the Army and I wasn't in the infantry. So you said you had a couple of incidents there where you got wounded, or?
I was wounded twice. I was wounded on August 9th and on August 19th. And August 9th, it was really insignificant. I got a piece of shrapnel in my hand, and I mean, it wasn't anything that I would put in a Purple Heart for, but I was treated by the medic, and apparently they just submit that
they do it
somebody for a wound, and the next thing you know, I got a Purple Heart. The second time, we were nearly overrun on August 19th, and everybody was, 24 out of 25 of us were wounded, and one guy died. So, I mean, everybody was hit, and I wasn't. And I'm saying to myself, and I reached down and I touched a hole in my pant leg, and I put my finger into my leg about that deep, and I mean that almost puts you into shock and stuff. But then second platoon reinforced us, and we got dusted off, and that was that.
So, yeah. Well, anyway, I thank you for your service. But most of the time you were the infantry and...
Well, August 19th is my most memorable experience. Well, July 23rd, I mean, again, why am I here and, Hanson dead, and why am I here and somebody else? And there's really no answer to that. I'm not here because of my skills or that I'm a hero. Or it's the luck of the draw. And I mean, I can share a story. I mean, I don't know what you guys want, but I was on a plane going over there with a guy named Bill Hanson. And Bill Hanson was drafted because he was separated from his wife, and she ratted him out and said he had a deferment, and his wife said, we're not really married or whatever, and she turned him in. I don't know what he did to cause a separation. That's a whole other thing. But she was pregnant at the time, and he was concerned, and they were getting back together. I mean, I'm sitting next to the guy on the plane. He's telling me his life story and stuff. Anyhow, we get to Tonson Newton Long Bend, and when they start, they go 1, 2, 3, 25th, 1, 2, 3, 101st, 1, 2, 3, 1st Infantry, and that's the way you go. And since me and Hanson were next to each other, we went to the 25th, and we went to the 25th. We went to the 2nd and the 14th, and from the 2nd to the 14th, we went to the 3rd platoon. So we ended up together. Now, my first incident, and I want to say it was like May 4th. I got there April 16th. You're in Tonson Newton for a couple of days. Then you get shipped to your unit. They get a little bit of an indoctrination. Then you get assigned. Then you finally get out into the field. Anyhow, we're on a sweep in a place called the Spiderweb, which we dreaded going to. But this is my first time that I went there. And we stopped. We're on a sweep, and you keep your distance between each other and stuff. And we stop, and you get into like a 3-man group, and we had our lunch, the sea rations, whatever. And then we got up, and I don't know if I had to go to the bathroom or what, but Hanson ended up, like, not that it matters, we're just riflemen. He was in my spot. He got hit by a sniper, and he got killed. And, like I say, he had a wife and a kid and the whole thing, and I'm a single guy, and I'm saying, what? Why?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things really freak you out. And,
yeah, I had a good friend of mine. His name was Tom Teal. And Tom and I did a lot of things. He was, like I say, he was a Korean veteran. And he told me a story pretty similar to yours. He says they got attacked over there, and his buddy called him over and says, come on, get in the foxhole with me. So he jumped in the foxhole with him, and it wasn't very deep. So he grabbed the shovel to dig it out. And he went like that and lowered his head. The bullet went over his head and killed his buddy right next to him.
Yeah.
But everybody has a lot of those stories, and then you wind up with survivor's remorse or something like that.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of us who have post-traumatic stress, a lot of us have that survivor's guilt. Mm-hmm. Why am I here and he's not? And it's just that's kind of a tough thing to deal with, But we all get where we're going. You want to? I mean, I can give you a couple of stories. I don't want to, but July 23rd, we had casualties prior to that. We had a lot of new guys in the platoon, and we were going out on a patrol, and I had a vein break in my leg, or a blood vessel, and I had a big black and blue blood thing on my leg, and the medic said, you got to go in the rear and get that looked at. And I didn't want to leave my machine gun with some new guys going out on a mission. Anyhow, when I went out on the mission, and we almost got killed. It was a terrible, terrible experience. And I was wishing that it hadn't gone, but I did. I found out when I got back that the helicopter that I was supposed to get on, the resupply helicopter, blew up. It wasn't shot. It wasn't anything. It was just a fuel leak or a freak accident, and everybody on the helicopter died. And I carried that note with me that I was supposed to go on that thing for a long time. I've lost it. But, July 23rd, normally you do anything you can to get out of the field, to sham a little bit, to go to the PX and have a hamburger, to just get away from it. But I chose to stay, which I thought was a bad decision at the time. and then it ended up being a decision to save my life.
You know, Bill, I've shared this with some other people too. When I was in Utapao, Thailand with the B-52s,
Yeah.
I was supposed to come home, and my tour was over. And they said, well, this guy's got a medical emergency, you come back tomorrow. That plane crashed in Wake Island, and 11 guys died. And I still have the mass card from 1969, you know, with them. And I do the same thing. You know, had I not been bumped off that plane, would I still be here? I don't know. You know, I mean, the good Lord works in mysterious ways sometimes, you know.
And you, I mean, like, I don't consider myself to be the best person, and you know, you get that going. Besides, I mean, why am I here? You know what I mean? Like, what's my purpose? You know, was it to have children? Maybe one of my children are gonna do something, but I mean, I certainly haven't done anything that.
Usually you answer the call. You answered the call. What more could you ask for anybody?
Yeah.
You know, you served your country and honorably. So, yeah, no. Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned that. Was this? Because I think about it too.
How do you not? How do you not think about it? You know.
Yeah. So let me let's get off of that. You were wounded twice. Now your tour is over. Where'd you go? What'd you do? You're a single man now, right?
Yeah.
And your pockets hit a jingle.
Yeah. I had a new car. You know, I saved my blood money, and I bought a brand new Chevelle, and
I bought an Oldsmobile Cutlass.
Yeah, 442 or something, or what?
No, it was a 350, but it had a Hurst shifter in it.
Yeah, I had the 350 Chevelle. I didn't buy an SS, but I had the 350 300 horse. You know, but you know, I went back to college, and I got an early out for college to go back. So I went to college and tried to pick up, but when I left, I was in college, and back then, freshmen wore beanies. They had the beanie. You had to wear a beanie, and you dressed up with a jacket and tie to eat dinner. And
you said that's not me, right?
Well, no, but when I came back, there were guys in the girls' dorms, girls and the guys. I mean, the whole and people, you know, the protest and waving the North Vietnamese flag and having patches with the American flag on the seat of your pants, and you know, there was no respect, and we were called baby killers, and we would and that bothered me really, 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 really bad. I really you know, I mean, I'm not somebody that. I might have grew my hair a little long, but I was never a hippie, peacenik kind of guy. If I thought you needed a punch in the face, I gave you a punch in the face. And, you know, I had my share of that. But then Kent State happened.
Oh, yeah.
And they opened up on kids that were protesting, which they have a right to do. They weren't violent. They weren't throwing rocks. And if they were, hit them with a nightstick, but they had live ammunition, and they opened up and they killed 4 people at Kent State.
It was the National Guard.
And that turned me the other way, because I was in combat situations where we were told, not that we paid any attention to it, but that's a no-fire zone. That's a free fire zone. You can shoot anything that moves over here, but you can't shoot anything over there. But in my own country, we can arm our National Guard to open up on people that are putting a flower in your, you know, I mean, that turned me the other way, and all of a sudden I went to the Vietnam Veterans Against the War, and I started protesting against the war. But I never felt that I did anything wrong. I didn't really want to align myself, and I thought those people were wrong for waving. I never tolerated waving the Vietnamese flag or any of that stuff. I mean, I fought to see that flag taken down and our flag put up. But it was just such a conflict in my head. I didn't know where I needed to be. I didn't know if I should.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
That was Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
4 dead in Ohio.
4 dead in Ohio, yes. But, yeah, you know, we're basically the same age. How old are you?
74.
I'm a year older. Yeah, and
I didn't want to say anything.
what I look at, right? Yeah. Hey, listen, my shirts match,
Should
you
we
know,
pull? Should we do a little arm wrestling afterward? You know.
you feeling like a frog? Hey, yeah, well, I remember coming off the plane and I had those crazy people coming after me too.
Yeah.
But most of the time I was flying on civilian airlines, and if in uniform, and as soon as I got off the plane, I went into the restroom and put on civilian clothes. So
Yeah.
you had to try to get away from them. You know, they couldn't understand what we've been through, and you know, I didn't understand them either.
But they actually told us that, you know, don't wear your uniform.
Yeah.
I mean, which, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
proud to wear my uniform.
I was too.
You know,
I was too. But anyway, those days are all past. And what did you do for a living now?
Bounced around from job to job. Well, I went to college for a decade.
10 years?
Pretty much. I started in '66.
You were a slow learner?
No, I just the veterinary curriculum thing, and I was getting the GI. I was getting the GI Bill, and I wanted to go to vet school, and my grades weren't good enough to go to vet school, so I went into a master's program at the University of Rhode Island, and I figured maybe if I did good with my master's program, that I could get accepted into vet school, and you know. 6 credits shy of my master's, I had a major professor that we didn't agree. I quit, which again, PTSD, whatever it is, I was in conflict with a lot of people, had trouble with authority, got married, had a mortgage, had a couple of kids. Vet school became more and more remote of a possibility. So I worked construction and, you know, odd jobs, and did what I never really worked with my degree. Except I've gotten a couple of jobs that required a college degree, and it got me in the door, but I never worked in my field.
So eventually you left Rhode Island and you came down here?
Yeah, my marriage went to hell, and I started being I became 100% disabled. So I started traveling in a truck camper with my dog, and ended up being a snowbird. Well, one thing I'd like to throw in too, I got involved. I never realized I had PTSD. I mean, I thought I was normal, and I had a couple of family incidents. I had a blood clot in my leg, and I wanted to kill the doctor. And, you know, my ex-wife would say, that's not normal to want to kill him. I mean,
no.
But it's like I was always over the top. And I had an incident where my daughter got beat up, and I'm going to go after that guy. And we went to some family counseling, and the counselor said, I'm not an expert, but I think you have post-traumatic stress. And I mean, it got me out of the chair, and I'm saying, what are you saying, I'm a coward? You know, I mean, it's like, no, I'm not saying that. It's a normal person's reaction to being in a life-threatening situation, resulting in inappropriate anger and this and that. There you go. And then when I had the blood clot, it was the same thing. I felt I was malpractice, but it wasn't a thing that I could sue anybody for. I wanted to hurt the doctor. I ended up going to counseling, and the counselor told me the same thing. Are you a Vietnam vet? I said, yeah, here we go again. I got to tell you, I think, it gets me out of the chair. I had an incident where I worked for the Attorney General in the state of Rhode Island, and my daughter was beaten, and I ended up hunting the people that did what they did, and I ended up at that point going into the VA, a psych ward, to get myself back on track, and I found out about a program in Northampton, Massachusetts for combat veterans, a PTSD program, and they were one of the best programs in the country. And I thank them for saving my life and let me re-grasp it, you know.
You know, Bill, you told me you haven't watched any of our shows, but my partner and I, just about a month ago, filmed an episode all about PTSD and post-traumatic stress with a lady doctor. And she talks about all the triggers and what to look for and how it affects the families and how, which I wanted to do for a long time because there are a lot of people who don't realize they have it or don't understand it, and the spouse doesn't understand you.
No. No.
So, but there are a lot of great programs out through the VA now, and a good friend of mine who was a Marine, he went through the Birdwell Foundation. So we did a show to try to explain to people, especially like the younger people coming back. Now he's got a young wife or she's got a young husband, or, and they got kids. Well, now it affects everybody,
Sure.
When you have that.
And you don't realize it, but your family develops what they call secondary PTSD. So, excuse me with this, but they're behaving the way they're behaving because of what they got from you.
A reflection.
And nobody realizes what or why we're in conflict the way we are.
He should have been there with us when we met this doctor.
Yeah.
Because you are triggering right in what she said,
Well, here's a real good one for you. I mentioned August 19th.
Yes, sir.
As we were almost overrun and stuff. So that's what they call a combat anniversary. Now, my ex-wife's birthday just happened to be August 19th. And she never realized that as August 19th started to come around, like from when April starts to come, I start to get into depression. I start to get into these moods. Well, by August 19th, I quit my job, got drunk and had a car accident, had a fist fight, ended up somehow, ruined the cookout. My ex-wife thought I hated her because all I wanted to do was screw up her birthday.
Yeah.
And it took me going to that place in Northampton to realize, somebody said, that's a combat anniversary. I mean, not to make an excuse for your behavior, but you start to get pumped up and cranked up, and you just you're hypervigilant, you're looking at me. I mean, it's like you get over the top. And but like I say, I realized a lot by going through that program. It's a good program.
Well, more power to you, my brother. There are, and that's what we tried to get out there. There are people out there. There are trained people that can help get through that, and I'm sure, like you said, your wife didn't understand what you were going through, but that's why we have group counseling. We have all these other programs, and I'm so glad that you got yourself straightened out.
Well,
for the most part, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I know. Since I met you,
But this is an ongoing thing. I started that program in 1994, and I go almost every year for what they used to call it a 2-week tune-up. Then it went to a 3-week tune-up. But I go almost every year. I go back, and we joke about it. Tighten a few screws over here and loosen a few over there, and some anger management. And now they have some of this evidence-based therapy, CPT, prolonged exposure, EMDR. There's a lot of therapies out there where they have actual proven results that it helps to, get people better, make people better. But
well, I want to thank you for doing this show and speaking candidly like this, because it isn't easy. I can understand it isn't easy, and what you've been through, and you're quite a credit. I'm gonna be nice to you, even though you were in the Army. I'm gonna be nice to you because
I don't have to be nice to you, do I? I mean, I have to reciprocate.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be nice to you,
brother. I give you a lot of credit for realizing you had the situation and taking care of the situation. And that's what we're trying to get out to everybody out there, that if you have something similar, get help.
Don't be afraid to do it. I mean, it's not about stigma, or it's nothing to be ashamed of, but it's something that'll let you reclaim your life. I mean, you don't have to be a drunk living under a bridge or whatever. You can have a good life.
Yeah.
I mean.
So yeah, I've seen those guys. In fact, I know we could talk about that all day long.
Yeah. No, it's sad. It's sad.
It is sad. I had several friends. One of them was like, he was under that bridge. Like you said.
Yeah.
And his family had money.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't go out because he was in that little jungle underneath that
Right.
bridge.
Yeah.
But there is help out there. I'm glad you're speaking out and telling people, go get it. You know, I think we're about wrapping this up, aren't we? You know, and I'll buy you a drink.
All right, good. Thanks.
Welcome home, brother.
Well, thank you.
We've got to say goodbye.
All
This is
right.
how we do it.
All right.
To all our veterans out there, our active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time. Nice job, brother.
Hey.